Okay, so this says to solve each equation below. When we have equations set up like this, they're like ratios or proportions. So what we need to do when we solve them is we need to do something called cross multiply. So what that means is we're going to look at the first fraction. We are going to take the denominator of the first fraction and multiply that by the numerator of the second fraction. So that's going to look like this. We're going to have 9 times 4x minus 1 equals, and then we need to do it the other way. We need to take the denominator of the second fraction and multiply that by the numerator of the first fraction. So that's going to equal 5 times the quantity 2x plus 7. And now that we have this, now we have an equation that we know how to solve. So we're going to start by doing the distributive property. So 9 times 4x will give us 36x. 9 times negative 1 will give us minus 9. Equals, and then we need to do the distributive property again over here. So 5 times 2x is 10x, and 5 times 7 is plus 35. So now we have 36x minus 9 equals 10x plus 35. We have an equation with variables on both sides that we know how to solve. So remember, when we are solving an equation, the goal is to isolate the variable. So we want to get it on one side of the equal sign by itself. So to do that, first I'm going to take this 10x and I'm going to subtract 10x from both sides. There are plenty of ways to start, but I like to kind of look at my x's first and see where I can move them to avoid having negatives whenever possible. So 36x minus 10x, that's going to give us 26x minus 9 is going to equal, these 10's go away, so it equals 35. So now we want to take this minus 9, we need to figure out what is the inverse of subtracting 9? Adding 9. So we're going to add 9 to both sides of the equal sign. When we do that, on the left, the 9's cancel out. So we have 26x equals, and then we have to actually do 35 plus 9. So remember, if you're like, I'm not really sure what that is, use your calculator to help you. 35 plus 9 is 44. So we have 26x equals 44. Now remember, this is 26 times x. So the inverse of multiplying by 26 is dividing by 26. So we're going to divide by 26 on both sides. When we do that, on the left, these 26's, they make a giant 1. So we get 1x, which we can just write as x, is equal to, now you have to do 44 divided by 26. Ooh, that does not divide nicely, so let's just leave it as a fraction. Let's just leave it as 44 over 26. Final answer. Alright, on the left, we're going to do the same type of thing over here, but now you'll see in the numerator of our first fraction, we have a distributive property problem. So what we're going to do first, before we do our cross multiplication, is we're actually going to distribute in this numerator. So the numerator is going to turn into 9 minus 2x, because you have to do negative 2 times x, and then negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. So 9 minus 2x minus 10 divided by 3 is equal to x over 4. So now what we're going to do next, we're still not going to cross multiply yet, we're going to combine like terms on this fraction on the left. So 9 minus 10, that gives us negative 1 minus 2x over 3 equals x over 4. And now that we've distributed, we combined our like terms, now we're going to use our cross multiplication. So remember, denominator of the first fraction times numerator of the second fraction. So 3 times x is going to give us 3x. And then the same thing, we need to do denominator of the first fraction times numerator of the second fraction. So it's going to be 4 times, then you want to make sure you put that numerator in parentheses. So negative 1 minus 2x, that needs to go in parentheses. On the left, we're just going to have 3x for now. So 3x equals, and now we need to actually distribute. So 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. 4 times negative 2x is negative 8x. Alright, we want to get all of our x's on one side of the equal sign, all of our constants on the other side. So I'm going to take this minus 8x and I'm going to add it to both sides. 3x plus 8x will give us 11x equals negative 4 because these 8x's cancel out. Now we want to get x by itself. So the inverse of multiplying by 11 is dividing by 11. We do that, the 11's make a giant 1. So we get x equals, again, this is not going to divide nicely, so let's not turn it into a decimal. You can if you want, it's not wrong if you do, but a fraction is more precise. So we're going to leave it as x equals negative 4 over 11, and that's our final answer.